Okay, thanks. All right, thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon to learn more about the Boards and Commissions Leadership Institute. Um, this is a 7-month cohort program that we run out of Nexus Community Partners here in the Twin Cities. I'm joined today with my colleague Christine, and we are going to be talking about the fellowship. So. Um, a little bit of background about Nexus. We are a nonprofit in the Twin Cities. We're right in St. Paul, on the edge of 280 and 94. So we're right next door to Minneapolis. We are an intermediary, which means that even though we are a nonprofit that takes money from philanthropy, we also do re-granting. And so we work with people. We work primarily in communities of color and other underrepresented communities. 20 years ago, when we were founded, we originally worked in three neighborhoods in on the east side of St. Paul and South Minneapolis and then North Minneapolis. But now we do work regionally in the Twin Cities and also across the state. We fund good ideas through re-granting. We help build capacity and technical support. Um, we are all about relationships, and so all the work that we do is through deep community work and relationships in community, and we are engaged in knowledge production. The origin story of the Boards and Commissions Leadership Institute was, or the BCLI for short. So we were we are a replication program. So what that means is that the BCLI program is a copy of another program that was started somewhere else. And in our case, there is a wonderful organization called Urban Habitat out in the Bay Area. What they do is, or what they are is, they're a BIPOC-led environmental justice nonprofit, but they do a lot of organizing in the Bay Area. If you're familiar with California political culture, they're engaged in issues campaigns of all sorts in the area, and they've been around about 40 years. And in about 2009, while they're organizing folks in the community, they realized that some of the local issues that they were trying to move the needle on, they were meeting roadblocks at the level of local boards and commissions and committees. And a lot of these committees and commissions did not reflect the diverse backgrounds of the communities that they were serving. And so they asked themselves, is there a community program that teaches BIPOC leaders who are interested in getting on boards and commissions and being an effective leader? And in their research, they found out that there was no such program, so they decided to create their own program. And so they came up with what we now call the Boards and Commissions Leadership Institute back in 2009. And our president and CEO of Nexus heard about the program in about 2011 and asked my former boss and predecessor to reach out and get permission to replicate the program here in the Twin Cities. And she did so. And in 2013, the Twin Cities ran its first cohort of the BCLI fellows. What we do is we train folks. We do our best to try to place them, and we connect them through our relationships, whether that's with folks in the political landscape, folks in the community in terms of activists and organizers, the alumni network, folks who come and train through our program. We're a 7-month leadership cohort program. Technically, it's 6 months. The seventh month is just a formal graduation program. Um, and so while folks come through the program, um, we help advise them on how to apply to boards and commissions, do research on which boards they want to learn more about, And within a year of their graduation, we are dedicated to helping get them placed on a board commission. But that relationship also goes beyond the year after they graduate, for as long as um, any time that is necessary. We are always happy to help alumni get on boards and commissions, whether that's advising them on the application process or just being a sounding board for some of their experiences as they go out into the community and continue to do work and grow their leadership. What we mean, we are focused on equity here at Nexus. Everything that we do through a racial equity lens, in particular, and we think that this definition of equity really illustrates how we move through community and through space. With this quote, equality means everyone gets a pair of shoes. Equity means everyone gets a pair of shoes that fit. And so there's this, famous picture of, folks of three different heights who want to reach the apple tree, but they can't. And so equality means that we give everybody, the same size box, and so they each get a step higher. But the shortest person still can't reach, right? So um, equity means that we customize the box that we give each person so that they each can actually reach what they're trying to get to. And so that's what we mean by equity. We believe that leadership and Nexus means that a strong community is a place where everyone can be seen as leaders, where leaders are given ample opportunities to grow into their leadership, um, and folks are able to represent their communities at multiple tables and in multiple spaces. And so that's why in our application process, we ask applicants to study the list of what we call target seats, and to see which ones might appeal to them that they might be interested in. These are not just random seats that you should be looking at. They should be seats that have power and have meaningful duties which affect policies which you really care about. And we want to ensure that folks are technically and politically prepared and supported once they leave the program, um, and that they understand the policies and the systems into which they're going to work in. So why do we target boards and commissions and committees? As you can see here, they vary in power from all sorts of legal and political capacity, right? So boards can review and advise on local or regional policies and plans and budgets. They can facilitate community input and public decisions. They can incorporate public comments into policy. They can research critical issues. They can review agency reports. They can make recommendations to agencies, to other policymakers. They can make decisions on policies and implementation. And then there's things that we forgot to list here too, like for example, there's some of them have powers over really important land use issues. They can give or deny permits, for example, for drilling, for all sorts of things. They can regulate professions. So there's boards that regulate barbers. And hand out licenses for barbers, right? There's professional boards that can investigate allegations of abuse and wrongdoing in the professions of the law of the medical field, things like that. So what we hope to have happen is that once folks come through our program and um, they've learned through our program that they leave the program as alumni who are equipped with the confidence and the skills to raise awareness about racial and economic equity amongst stakeholders and whichever tables they happen to go sit at, whether that is a formal board commission or whether that is in any other advocacy work that they do. It could be working in some other capacity that advocates for issues. For example, if they happen to go on and work at a lobbying firm, for example, as just another pathway to affect the legislative process. That they voice the equity perspective and offer solutions on public plans that affect their communities directly and indirectly, and that they raise important questions of equity, and that they build visibility and power of community. Our program is pretty unique. We believe that it is an important tool and system analysis. We focus on how systems work and understanding systems change, and truly building folks as leaders, and that we believe that everyone can be a leader and is a leader, and that there's no gatekeeping. We hope that folks are accountable to themselves and their community. That's part of the reason why in our application we ask folks to find a nominator to write a letter of support or a letter of recommendation so that they are grounded in community and that they have someone that they can turn to for advice or for mentorship, and that being a leader in these kinds of spaces is it should not be a lonely endeavor, and it should be a communal effort. Oops, forget about this animation. That slide, okay, no, can't go. That slide basically just that was a picture of our graduation like from 8 years ago. And it was just saying that we learn as a group and we are a cohort model. And so there's a benefit in learning together as a cohort model, kind of like a class. Um, so the ideal candidate, we are looking for folks who are committed to social, racial, and economic justice for people of color and underrepresented communities. They must also have a racial equity analysis and understanding of the impact of policy and the role of systems, and that they have some experience, personal or professional, in advocacy and systems. Um, that they match the residency requirements for the boards that they target, and that they be 18 years of age, uh, and that they commit to the training dates and events of the program. Um, so those are pretty basic. I think there's for number three. Um, some folks might have some anxiety about number three, but really, we're not looking for a lot of technical or formal advocacy. That's not what we mean. We're looking for folks who are passionate about being an advocate, and when we say advocacy experience, we it could be anything. So, whether that's growing up and being a translator for your parents in English because you're an immigrant family, or advocating for your child in the public school system, for example. So that's what we mean by experience and advocacy, because that's what you're going to do if you get on a board commission, because you are one person, but you also represent your community, in particular, whichever neighborhood that you are representing. Usually, most boards or commissions are appointed by some type of geography. And so, and some of them are appointed by an at-large membership, but most of them do have requirements of geography representation and or maybe even vocation. So, for example, on a historical preservation commission, there would be a requirement for, let's say, one lawyer and one historian or something like that. And so some boards have different requirements, but there's all sorts of demarcations like that. But mostly the basic thing is some type of geography, so ward, district, neighborhood, things like that. So basically, the process is when you look at our application, there will be a target seats list. Um, you pick one between one and three boards and commissions that you're interested in. You find someone to nominate you, so you ask someone to help write you a letter of recommendation. And then you supply, you upload that along with the rest of your information on the application. And then we close the application on January 20th. And then in late February, we hope to do interviews. And then we will announce the cohort in March, and then the cohort kicks off in April, and then it runs to September. So these are 5 issue areas. Um, Christine, did I go past your slides yet? I don't remember.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So so these are the 5 issue areas that we train in. So these 5 issues are woven in throughout the curriculum. So economic development, health, housing, transit, and workforce development. So these 5 issue areas are woven throughout the whole curriculum of the 6 months. And then I believe this might be my last slide, right, Christine?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Um, when you are looking for someone to nominate you, that person can be they could be a BCLI alumni if you know someone. They could be faith-based organizations. They could be a labor union or other leadership or community programs. So, for example, in the past, we've had other leadership programs like at the Wilder Foundation nominate fellows who come through our program, for example. They could be grassroots and community organizations. They could be governments. They could be policy or advocacy groups. They could be some of our funders, and they could be community elders. Um, if you don't think that you know anyone in any one of these particular sectors or buckets of folks that can nominate you, please don't hesitate to reach out to Christine and I, and we would be happy to ask an alumni in one of our networks to connect with you and help write you a letter of recommendation. And with that, my colleague Christine will go on with the rest of the slides. Okay, so I just said this actually.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so what is the application/nomination process? Kind of as Chai was saying, we have the link online to our website. You're going to fill out 1 to 3 boards that you're interested in. Those, again, are your targeted seats. You're going to find a nominator to write you a letter of recommendation, and that is something that you're going to upload along with your application. And then other than that, we ask for a current resume and then what we call a letter of interest, which again is just think of it as a cover letter. And so you can apply either online or you have the option to print out the application and mail it in to us again by January 20th. And so the training, as Chai was saying, is 7 months and plus a graduation in the last month. So we ask for one Saturday session per month, so 6 total. So that is usually the second Saturday of each month. And those are going to be the full day, the 9 to 5 p.m. And then we also ask for 2 Thursday issue series. So those are going to be Thursday night topics and in comparison to the Saturday sessions, which are just for the cohort, the Thursday night issue series are going to be open to the public. You're going to hear from people currently working, and they're going to be kind of more of a deep dive on specific topics. And then throughout the curriculum, we're going to have a little bit of homework, nothing too intensive, but just some online readings, webinars, discussions, things like that to do before these sessions. And then if you are chosen to be part of our cohort, we will provide a $500 stipend. So we feel that's a little bit unique from other leadership programs, whereas, in some other places you might pay to go through the program. We will pay you $500. And so you'll get the first half of that up front and then the second half following your attendance through the rest of the program. And so that's just to help cover any like transportation costs, childcare, anything like that. So just an overview of the curriculum. We have 3 main areas. We have political skills, so that's going to look like storytelling, organizing, and mobilizing. We have more technical skills that will be taught, such as Robert's Rules of Order. And then we are also going to have knowledge integration sessions. So that's going to include land use visioning, community benefits agreements, health equity. Yeah, and then once you go through the BCLI curriculum and graduate, our goal is to help get you seated. So we'll be available through all parts of that process. We are happy to, review your application, help prepare you for interviews, and we're also going to be working behind the scenes to leverage our relationships with our alumni and our network to help get you seated. And our goal is to get you seated within a year of completing the program. Yeah, and so our alumni network is pretty robust. In addition to people who have completed the BCLI cohorts, we also have a partnership with two other leadership programs from different organizations. So we're part of what is called the Joint Partners, and that is with the Wilder Foundation as well as Citizen Pathways. And yeah, we offer opportunities for professional development, networking, and socializing, and maybe even selecting and training the next BCLI cohorts. So some of our program outcomes over the last 10 years, we have had 11 cohorts, which is 157 alumni, and over half of our alumni have been placed. And so our placement rate, as you can see, is about 50%. And the people who have not been placed still either use the skills that they have learned in the BCLI program or, have gone on to advise for elected officials. And some more examples of things our alumni have gone on to do include, being on the Ramsey County Workforce Investment Board, the Metropolitan Council Transportation Advisory Board, as well as being policy advisors to the governor and to Minneapolis City Council members. And yeah, again, some more bragging points for BCLI. We've pushed for equitable policy change. Our alumni have identified increased leadership, public visibility, and personal effectiveness. And we've advised other programs and even funders on developing leadership programs. Yeah, so following this session, I will be sending out a recording of this meeting. You'll have all of the presentation materials, but if anyone has any questions right now, we'll be open to taking those. Yeah, okay.
Hi, thank you for providing the information. In terms of the recommendation from the community members, how long does that have to be? And if they speak like a different language, is that okay, or would it need to be translated in English? So yeah, just curious about the recommendation process. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Kay. So it's basically just a short letter. Yeah, and that varies for people. Most folks, it's pretty standard. Most folks just have a one-page letter of recommendation from whoever is their nominator. Sometimes folks can send something as short as one paragraph or two or three, but usually they don't ever go beyond one page. So yeah, it's just a pretty simple letter that we can read and learn a little bit more about that person's relationship to you and how they feel you might grow as a leader and how you might benefit from this program.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
And then did I see someone else have their hand raised earlier?
I was basically going to ask the same question Kay had, so thank you, Kay, for asking.
Anyone else have any questions? Chad?
Yeah, I had a question around the interview process. What does the interview process consist of?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so the interview process will usually consist of Christine and I as staff, and then usually one community member who's usually another staff in another nonprofit that is an ally in the work that we do here in the field of both organizing BIPOC leaders and or in the leadership development landscape. And then usually one alumni. So there'll be four of us usually. And don't get too too nervous about it. The packet of questions that we ask, we're going to send to you ahead of time so that you will have them and be as prepared and thoughtful as you can when you answer them.
Perfect, thank you.
Chad?
And was buried at Colville in 1904.
Oh, Chad, I think. Oh, we can't hear you, I think.
Yeah, feel free to type it into the chat. There we go.
Oh, perfect question. So it does so happen that we don't usually say this in our outreach and communications and marketing, but because we're a nonprofit and so we're nonpartisan, but it just so happened that we do have alumni who do go on and run for public office. In fact, we have six alumni who are in office. One person actually just stepped down because she did not run for re-election last November. So we have currently five alumni in office. And so they range from local electeds on school board and city council to state legislators, and probably our the one we are proudest of and brag the most about is our highest profile alumni, Ilhan Omar, who is a congresswoman. She came through our cohort in the first year in 2013.
And then,
And oh, sorry,
oh, I was just
Christine.
read out the second question, which is, do you need to live in the Twin Cities area to be considered? And I would say no. I think about half of our sessions are going to be online. And again, if you look at our application link online, you'll have all of the dates that we would need you to block out. So you might be able to plan beforehand if that helps.
Interesting. Any other questions? So great question. The question in the chat is, do you have to be a permanent resident? We do not ask in the application, we do not ask for people's legal residency. The only things we ask for in our application is if or basic demographics that you can volunteer to submit. So, for example, your race, ethnicity, your age, things like that. If you have food allergies, because we serve food in person. So just things like that. We don't ask for residency requirements. The only thing that that might apply to is whatever boards or commissions you might apply to. Some of them might ask that, but not all of them. But yeah, so in terms of our application and who we take in the program, we don't ask for their legal residency. Any other questions?
Yeah, in our chat, Jessica asked, how long after the application deadline will candidates be advised if they were selected?
Oh, great question. So January 20th is the application deadline, and the turnaround is pretty quick. Usually, in about 2 weeks, we'll confirm folks and invite folks to come in for an interview, and we hope to do that by the end of February. And so, depending on the number of applicants and the number of folks that we plan to interview, that might take us into the first week of March. But for sure, selected folks will be informed by mid-March at the latest. And then let's see, Chad, you have one more question in the chat. Uh, As a proud Taiwanese American, I've had the opportunities to work with many Asian communities due to my location. However, I've worked with many Indigenous elders communities. Does this count as advocacy? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any work you do in community, is community work is advocacy. If you brought one friend or stranger along with you to a city council meeting, you have been an organizer, you have advocated. And so if you have taught one person to show up for themselves, whether that's in community or whether that's at a decision-making table, or that's in front of a legislator or a policy maker as a constituent to advocate for themselves and or for yourself, then you have been an advocate. So yes, absolutely. Any other final questions? All right. I will stop recording and then